Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. Yeah, this is truly going to be, I feel like I'm sitting here in my underwear because my green screen, for whatever reason, is not functioning today. But so just disregard all that. And we're here. We've got a great guest for you today.
Well, we know that people who are listening to the audio version of the podcast aren't going to notice the difference, Kevin.
Hey, now there's a... Pardon me, well, it's the president calling. So, anyway.
We have a great show today.
We do indeed. John, take it over.
Kevin, today is World Kindness Day.
I did not know that. Is it really?
It is World Kindness Day, which means it is. I mean, this is the day that we live for here at Positive Talk Radio.
I wish somebody would tell a few people that, but that would be okay. That's good.
It's all about spreading kindness and positive energy. And I think when we talk positive energy, we have to talk about our guest for today, Robin Wilt.
Hey, Robin, how you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all?
And one of our co-hosts, Rochelle, is here with us as well.
And so just to fill everybody in, Rochelle has been with us for almost a year now. She's a fine young lady who is learning the arts, as it were. John is a veteran, and thank you for your service again, sir. And he was in the government for 20 years, and so he's
42 years.
Well, I didn't count the Navy service.
Okay, got it.
And and we're here because Robin is brought to us, and she's got a lot of really positive things about her that we want to talk about. She's a healer, she's a coach, she's a guide, and she works with people to help them eliminate limiting beliefs, karmic patterns, and old baggage. I have old baggage. It's in my closet right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we all have old baggage. It's, it's quite interesting. And just when you think you've gotten rid of it, another layer comes up. So I always like to call it the gift that keeps on giving.
Indeed, it does. How did you get involved? And what is your background? Where did you start this?
So I actually started the first probably 36 years of my life being very structured. I was in finance and accounting, and I did not believe in any of this stuff, any of the woo-woo stuff. I was probably very judgmental about a lot of those things back then. So the first kind of sojourn into all of this stuff is that I had a hip replacement at 29, and I started doing yoga. So I think the universe was kind of softening me up to all of this stuff. Even when I was doing yoga, it was hot yoga. So it was still very structured and, very, very just in that masculine energy. And then a few years after that, in my mid-30s, my entire life exploded. My dad died. I got divorced. I mean, literally everything that you can think of, it happened in this very short period of time. So I was going to therapy. I was, taking a look at all of my stuff, trying to work through all these things. And therapy just wasn't, it was helping, but it wasn't really getting to the root of what the deeper issues were. So I went to a yoga workshop, and I was somebody that I didn't talk to people that I didn't know, and I really didn't listen to my intuition. So when this was happening, I was like, okay, I guess I need to listen. I kept hearing, go talk to this girl that was at the workshop. And I was like, all right. So I got and talked to her, and I, became friends. And I was sharing with her, the things I was struggling with. And she's like, you need to go see Arthur. And I'm like, I don't know who Arthur is, but something inside of me again said, yeah, you should go see Arthur. What do you have to lose? So of course he did energy work and Reiki, and he was my first mentor. I learned so much from him. And that kind of really started to crack me open to all of these things. And I love to learn. So I fell down the rabbit hole, and there were just probably 4 years where I just was learning like everything that I could, because of course I was healing while I was doing these things as well. I would take workshops or learn about astrology or energy work or hypnotherapy techniques, whatever it was. And I was healing so much while I was also like awakening the gifts that I had no idea. So that was quite interesting to start, hearing voices and like to kind of tap into my sensitivity and just all the things that go along with it. So it's been quite a journey the last, oh God, almost 9 years. Yeah.
Getting a hip replaced when you're 29. Did they tell you? That's really unusual. We don't have people of that age getting hip replaced.
Yeah, so I found out about it when I was 20. And the messed up thing is that I was in horrible pain that whole decade. And no doctor would do the surgery. It finally was, they just wanted to give me pain pills and whatever. And I was like, you're not fixing the problem. So eventually when I hit 29, I found a doctor who was like, yeah, of course we can do it. Like, you're young, you're going to recover. So that changed my life. Like before that, I was not so happy and positive. It's amazing, like what being in pain 24/7 or almost 24/7 can do to you. But ironically enough, when I discovered astrology, I realized that I had the hip replacement done during my Saturn return, which is a lot about the bones and like really structures in our lives. So I found it kind of fitting that I had, I believe that everything's kind of divinely guided and timed, even when we don't understand it. I'm very thankful that I had the surgery done with that doctor. I think I was meant to do it with him and not the other doctors that I had met before that.
Well, I had my first hip done. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say that's usually the case, right? When you find rejection in one area, instead of taking it as, a personal attack or rejection or whatever else, you realize it's because that wasn't the door you were meant to go through.
Well, and I had my first hip done when I was 42, and they said, you're awfully young for this, because they're only going to last 15 years, which means you're going to probably in your lifetime need 2 or more hips done. Well, you know what? I'm sitting here at 67 years old. 67 years old. For those of you that are that age, shut up, Rochelle. For those of you that are that age, it's like you don't ever think that that's going to be your state in life. But I'm still got the original hip, so it's worked out really well for me, and I hope yours just stays stable and works out well for you. And I also believe that you're correct when you say that everything is designed for a reason, and that as you go through your life, one of the things we talk about in the opening is why are you really here? Well, you weren't here to be a worker bee. You were here to do something special. And it took you a while to get to that point to figure it out. It's like John and Rochelle and me, everybody. We all have got something that we're going to be doing special in our lives that they just seem divinely inspired. Would you consider that to be part of your life path?
Absolutely. I mean, it's I was always a person that I never wanted to own my own business. Like I never wanted to, which is weird because I feel like I'm actually very strongly suited to own my own business, but I never wanted to. But it was just this thing that kept pulling me forward. Like I just wanted to help people. And I think when you have those gifts awaken, I don't think you can kind of hold them back. I mean, I feel like you don't really feel fulfilled. You don't really feel like you're, maybe people can. I don't know. I certainly haven't been able to. Like, I definitely feel like I'm not really living my fullest expression if I'm not kind of sharing those with people in some way. I'm not saying you have to make it a business. Maybe you have a podcast, or maybe you do other things that kind of help you to express it. But I think that energy has to be moved, or else you can kind of feel stagnant or stuck.
I think a lot of people have a tendency to kind of hold themselves back. There's a fear of taking a risk. There's a fear of looking weak. There's a fear of interfering with other people. I mean, there's all sorts of things that perceptions, I should say, that hold us back from making those decisions or from reaching out and doing the things that we know are right.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it was a lot of, were you going to say something, Rochelle?
No, I'm just agreeing with everything because it's so weird to like have so many people to just understand that like there's so many versions of the person that you can be, but when something awakens you, it like
Mhm.
you start to understand that everything's connected. So
Robin, I want to again introduce Rochelle. She is a younger sort, and she is just now in the last 6 months or so is beginning to go through what you went through in your early 30s, what I went through in my 40s. Can you give her and anybody else who's listening who feels like they're well, Rochelle, tell us how you feel.
um I feel at peace. I love my life. There is glory in everything. The decisions I make and the way that I speak and the time I spend with people and myself. I didn't understand that last year, and Kevin would know. I was just like, I didn't really care about anything. I didn't see the full version of life because I just felt like, well, I've already lived so much of it. I think I'm done. I get it. I know how it works now. But that you never really do. And like you was saying, Robin, for you, I loved how you said once your gifts open, that they're there. That it becomes who you are. And
Yeah.
I've had that happen to such an extreme point lately. I've been telling Kevin and John the experiences I've had. It's unexplainable, and it is. It's voices in your head that tell you like it almost makes you sick if you don't listen to it. And I've learned to listen every single time I've heard it, and I've experienced beautifully amazing things that I would never take back.
So Robin, as she walks in her journey, there are lots of people out there that are experiencing the same thing, because I really think that we are in the beginning of a metamorphosis where the pendulum has swung. It swung, it really is swung. And now it's going to at one point hopefully swing back the other direction. Can you give Rochelle some pointers or a little bit of advice?
Yeah, it's funny because the thing that keeps coming through is like it's not that serious. And this is because this is something that I had to learn. Like I used to take everything so, and I'm not saying to like not have integrity or whatever, but I mean, I think we can put such pressure on ourselves, like
Yeah.
to get it right or to feel like we're, like I have to maximize these gifts and like we put all this pressure on ourselves, but me utilizing my gifts can be as easy as opening the door for somebody when I'm out and about or making somebody smile or it's just like you said, Rochelle, like it becomes part of who you are. So it's like you can't help but walk around in the world and affect people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm getting goosebumps on that. Like, which I need these reminders too, because again, I can put such pressure on myself, like, well, I need to be doing more and I need to like be helping more people. But and the other thing that goes along with that is like having that centered energy where you're taking care of yourself. Like when we do that, again, it continues to ripple out into the world. So it's like, we have to be number one, which I know for my parents' generation, like my parents had 6 kids and were very burned out and like, did not model self-care at all. So that's something I've had to learn and overcome. And I think if we can be in our power and our energy and make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, again, it just our cup can kind of overflow, and then we're able to show up even more of service to everybody else. Like once we're giving that service to ourselves. So those are the two things that are coming through.
Well, thank you. That is beautiful. I love how you said the cup overfills, and that's when you're available to give because a lot of people will have, like, oh, I have a little bit in my cup. I'm going to give it to someone else, but then that's where they're lacking. So that
Yeah.
was beautiful. And thank you for your words. I can relate to all of it so much.
Yeah.
I love what you said about putting so much pressure on yourself to grow and to do more, and because you feel differently than you were 20 years ago or 10 years ago, that you feel like you've got to accomplish more and do more. But again, John, this is the gospel according to Paul McCartney. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Let it be. Let it be. Know who you are, and it will follow and it will come to you. And Robin, would that, first of all, John, Paul McCartney, of course, isn't a theologian or a gospel guy, but they're just one of those things that he has said in the past that really resonated with me. And Michelle and I were up at 3:00 in the morning, her outside with a deer 4 feet away from her, looking at her, and I said, "Just let it be." And it because that's one of my catchphrases. But Robin, you said not to put too much pressure on yourself. Should you just let it be and let it come to you?
I mean, I think there's a time and a place for both. There is a time to kind of move forward and to exert our will, and then there is that time to kind of stand back. I think, right, as human beings, the struggle is like knowing the difference. It's like the serenity prayer in a way. It's like, well, what am I accepting versus what am I trying to change? That's definitely something that I've had to learn, and I'm still learning. It's very hard for me sometimes to sit back and to just allow. Like, I'm very much a person who has been conditioned to feel like I need to make things happen, or I need to kind of like control was a big part of my childhood and what I learned.
I think we all have that tendency. I think we all have that tendency. Because we don't know what is there. So if we have something that's kind of ooky or wishy or not quite solid in front of us, and we're not sure what it is we're looking at, and we're not sure if we're willing to take that risk, so we're like, no, I want to do the things that I know I can control. I want to do the things that I know where the outcome is going to be. And I did that for most of my life as well. It took me a while to get to a point where I said, okay, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to try this new thing because this opportunity has presented itself. There's a great saying. It says, when the universe offers you an opportunity, it doesn't necessarily check your calendar or your bank account. But sometimes, the feeling is there, it's right. And you got to just reach out and let it happen, or as Kevin says, let it be, let it actually happen and actually experience it and feel it. And then you can go, okay, yeah, this is right. And a lot of times we don't realize that this is right until it's in retrospect. Yeah,
absolutely. It's like, and I try to remember that when I'm in the middle of a situation. Like, I'm in a few situations right now where I'm just like, I feel like on a soul level, like my angels, my guides, my intuition keeps telling me like, you're fine, everything's fine, but it's triggering the crap out of me. And my ego is like, So it's been an exercise to just, okay, like, let it be.
I like how you admitted the fact that it's not just one thing that's happening. It's like, there's several things going on right now. And I think we all go through that, right? It's never just one thing that's going on and offering you a challenge. There's usually multiple things that happen at the same time because it's always a test.
And Michelle, I write this down because we want to do a new T-shirt now. It's called the T-shirt is going to be "You're triggering the crap out of me."
Okay, I like that. I like that.
That is a shirt.
Hey, I get copyright proceeds on that, right?
Absolutely. Because I want to, Robin, I have been doing this for a long time now, and I've got over 900 shows, and we have over 1.5 million listeners, they tell me, and all that kind of stuff. But each step has been its own making, and it's all been in my mind, in my world, divinely inspired. I was talking to a friend who's a coach, and I was saying I would love somebody to come work with me as an assistant and stuff, and voila, Rochelle showed up. And then I had the opportunity to have this guy by the name of John Verico on the show, and I thought, I have a connection with this dude. I don't know what it is yet, so I had him on again, and the connection was even stronger, and then it just kind of appeared. And John, I love how you tell that story. Tell that story. This was divinely inspired again, and was not a well thought out plan, if you will.
No, it wasn't. So after being on the show a couple of times with Kevin, and I knew that we had a good chemistry together, but I really loved the show, what he was trying to accomplish with it. No, what he was accomplishing with it and getting out, information and positivity and all this great stuff. And I said, man, that's such a wonderful cause. And that's what I try to do, on the basis of being a speaker and coach and stuff like that myself. And boy, wouldn't it be great to have that broader impact? And, I was a broadcast journalist. I wonder if maybe, how do I even ask him if he might want a co-host someday? And I never voiced that. I never even mentioned to my wife that I was considering such a thing. It was just something that was going on, way down in here. And I said, maybe. I wonder. And then out of the clear blue, he calls and said, hey, I've been thinking. And when he said co-host, I freaked. I did. I actually said no at first. And because even though it was what I actually wanted, but I was afraid that I would not be able to meet his expectation. If I was asking for it, then maybe I'd be coming in at kind of, that little level, but he's asking me. And so he has an expectation. Am I going to be able to meet that expectation? Am I going to be able to say all of those things, that he wants me to say? Am I going to be able to be that persona? Am I going to be able to have the time to do 5,000 shows like he does all the time, constantly recording? And so I waffled and I said, I got to think about it. I'm like, what am I doing? So I called him back and said, yes, I'll be there.
But again, it was all because in my mind, it was like, I'll give him a call. I'll see what he says. And it was, the way I put it was like, I don't care if you're there once a month, just whatever works for your schedule. Because he was really busy at the time, but as the universe plays it out, suddenly something happened in his world that I still don't know what it was, but he became a lot less busy and could do more of this than he was doing prior to that, because that's how the universe works. And I would love to talk more about that. We need to take a quick break, and we're talking with Robin Wilt. If you go to her website, which is Shed Some Light on, I love that, by the way. I'm surprised that was available. ShedSomeLightOnIt.net. And we will be right back after 30 seconds. Don't go away.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, John Verico, Brachelle, and Robin Wilt. How are you guys all today? Robin, it's great to have you here, because we are all, I really believe that everybody on the planet is really looking for a better way to be, how to be kind, how to be a decent human being to each other, even though we don't always show it. But I love the work that you're doing. Tell our audience a little bit more about your healing and being a coach and being a guide to help people get through some of these things that we're all facing.
Yeah, so I'll toot my own horn for a second, because I haven't always been great at that, but just the way that my energy, the way that my energy works, I'm able to really customize sessions for the client who is sitting in front of me. So I have a lot of modalities that I pull from based on what the client needs, which really helps people to see like long-lasting changes. I also love giving homework and kind of helping people to have that customized service, because I can do it, so why not, right? So yeah, I just really love supporting people in kind of breaking through those old patterns, those old energies that are holding them back from being happier, healthier, wealthier, whatever it is that they desire. It just really does light me up, and I love seeing that transformation in people. I always say that I'm like a little scientist. I get in there and just really get as deep as I can. So usually people come to me when they are ready for a big shift. I don't get people who are typically too much of a newbie. Just every now and again I do, but and not for that to scare you, but if you show up at my door, it's usually because your soul is ready for some shaking and some moving. So I'm going to plug in my laptop. So yeah, that was kind of a long-winded answer, but I'm a Gemini, so just talk.
No, that's perfectly, that really is perfect. Because so it would be, Rochelle would be a great person given where she's at in her development. She could benefit by coming to work with you, couldn't she?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I mean, I think that most people could benefit. I think it really is just an energetic match that the universe kind of creates, what y'all were talking about earlier. I think that, like, I've certainly found on my own journey where I just resonated with certain healers at different times. And I was like, oh, I need to go see this person. I didn't understand it, but I honored that. And I was like, okay, for whatever reason, I'm meant to have this experience with them. Even if I didn't fully understand it, I feel like you are brought with those connections that the universe kind of provides, because, right, the universe knows all. And if we can just allow it to be and just trust that, I feel like it can really assist us.
Well, on that note too.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Kevin. No, I was going to ask you on that note. I think one thing that is huge in most people, like I thought it was maybe just in me, but everybody experiences the uncomfortability of change. Like, we know change is good. We know that's how we grow, so the being comfortable is what keeps you safe. How John was talking about control, how you were talking about it. Like, I was raised like that. My mom, you have to control everything, otherwise it can all just blow over. But really, the more you control it, the worse it gets. And letting go and being uncomfortable and trusting the uncomfort, like, was there certain tools or things that you did that helped you get through being uncomfortable rather than just like the awareness of it?
Definitely, yoga has changed my life. Physical exercise for me can be really powerful, and also meditation. But a lot of times, like, if I'm feeling that angst, it's like I have to move the energy and kind of get it out of my system a little bit before I can even be calm enough to meditate. Yeah, so for me, the physical and getting out into nature also. I mean, if you want to change your life, like, I think, so I have a podcast actually, and we were chatting about this the other day about how we feel like sometimes we need these huge shifts in our lives, or we have to make these massive changes. But really, it kind of the most powerful growth that we can have is like making those small, consistent changes and just sticking with them for a period of time. So I would say, if you want to change your life, like, get out into nature every couple of days, and your nervous system starts to reset. It starts to calm down, to be a little bit more peaceful. I know for me, that was certainly the case.
Rochelle, do you still have the spiders in your room?
Yes, so Mama died. That was super sad. She is now in my sanctuary bug box. Aside from that, the spiders are on my dresser and they have a new enclosure, and I'm just gonna leave them alone. They have until spring, but they're starting to look like polka dots. I'm a huge nature person, Robin, if you didn't know. For most of our listeners that have heard me talk about myself and John and Kevin, anything that is living, I love it. Well, except for some humans, but
Yeah.
but
I can understand that.
I love nature, and I love just everything that is under the sky that God has given us, because everything has life and it can all be taken away as well. So I am going to keep her babies healthy, and then I'm going to release them in the mountains when they hatch.
And I love that about you, Rochelle. However, I just can't share my living space with spiders.
Well,
that's okay, John. I'll do it for you.
Yeah, she'll take them all in. She's gonna have like a spider sanctuary. So actually, interestingly enough, like, if we look at spider medicine, because I love animals as well, and like, I'll get a lot of messages from the universe through animals, or just through different things that I see. Spiders are a lot about like allowing things to come to us. and being in that stillness. And I think when because I've done ayahuasca a few times, I think during one of the ceremonies, I actually felt like the energy of the spider where she's just in the web and she's like, oh, like I trust, right? I'm in this cocoon or whatever, not a cocoon, but I'm in this space of my web, and I'm just allowing things to come to me. I'm not stressed. Like I know that, the bug will come,
It'll come.
the meal will come, it'll all just, it's all fine. So I love that you're kind of resonating with the spider medicine right now.
Well, thank you. And it's kind of funny because she came from Colorado in a trunk with me. I did have her for about 2.5 months before she passed. And the giant jar I gave her, I guess, was enough to provide what she needed I gave her water and collected bugs, and she had what she needed to give me more of her life. So I think there's a lot of honor in that. It's not just the spider.
Well, and that's the life cycle of a spider, isn't it? That you
Not very long.
they don't live very long, but you have babies. I'm still trying to argue with myself the fact of, okay, a spider has a soul. No, it doesn't. It can't, because I can just push it if it's in my house. But it's got a soul. Anyway. But I did want to mention that
I used
John
to feed praying mantises. I'll just say that.
Yuck. That's why I live in Seattle. We don't have any of that. But I did want to mention that, Robin, you said that how you present yourself to the world, whether it's at the grocery store or getting on a bus or whatever it is, you can create a distinct, different way of being and can affect other people around you. I'll give you an example. John is a very popular, positive guy. And I asked him, because he said, I got another speaking engagement. I said, how do you find these people? I don't. They find me. And it's because of how John is and how he presents himself to the world. Would you disagree with that, Mr. John?
No, it's true. Almost everything, almost all of my clients and all my speaking gigs are from word of mouth.
See, he's uncomfortable talking about himself. Did you notice that, Rochelle?
Yeah, look at him. He's getting all nervous. We love you for being that person, John, because
you have to understand. I was the little kid in school who got bullied all the time. I was 5'3", weighed 110 pounds when I graduated at the age of 18. So when I drew attention to myself or tried to take credit for anything, I got picked on and beat up. So you just, I'm a very humble guy. And so I'm proud of where I've gotten to, but everything I do is to help others be successful. And if they acknowledge that, great. If they don't acknowledge that, that's fine too. Because I know, what I was able to do to help that person. And
by the way,
not just me, so does the universe.
Perfect. Thank you. Well said. By the way, we're talking with Robin Wilt, and go to our website again, which is shedsomelightonit.net. We need to take our station break, and we will be right back. And then you mentioned something about a particular thing that I can't pronounce that you did a couple of times. I would love for you to educate us on that a little bit when we come back. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
We'll be right back. I think. Yeah.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
Oh, I just love that when everybody's bopping to the bump coming back.
That is that that's like just headbanger music. It's great.
Yeah.
It reminds me of my youth in so many ways. But
If you remember your youth, you weren't really there.
I remember
growing up in the 60s like we did. Yeah. So
yes, I remember what I remember was my youth, but I don't know whether that's actually fact or not. You know what I mean?
There's that.
Mm-hmm.
But now Robin has done something, and in the pursuit of her spirituality and growth, and there are some things that you can do. And is it ashwagandha? Am I correct? Am I close?
It is ayahuasca.
Damn it! I knew I would get it wrong.
Yeah, ashwagandha is a herb, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Now I had a
So
friend.
I can see how you would get them confused.
Yeah, what is it? Ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. Okay.
And what is it used for?
So it is used for healing, spiritual, mental, physical healing. And, I'm not like the ayahuasca expert, so I just can speak to my own experience. It was something that I was very hesitant to do for various reasons. The number one probably being that I hate to throw up. So I was like, but it was one of those things that the universe kept like very strongly pushing me towards. And I finally get to the point like I do with some things. And I just was like, fine, if you want me to do this, like you're going to have to make it very obvious. And I want these three things for me to sit with ayahuasca.
And there she is trying to control the universe.
No, actually, so
I will do it, but you must show me these things.
You know what's funny though? Actually, like the universe was I was actually very humbled to see, because I have been a person that has struggled with like identifying and speaking up for my needs, which was actually part of what I healed in the ceremony. So I think the universe was always almost like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like she's identifying what she needs and she's asking for it, which as soon as I did, the universe responded, and then I didn't have a leg to stand on. And I was like, crap, like I asked for these things, almost throwing it back in the universe's face. And the universe is like, oh, here you go.
And here, right back in your face at you. So do us a favor. So describe for the listeners who do not know, and including myself, what exactly is ayahuasca?
So ayahuasca is a plant medicine taken from a vine it's from a vine that comes from Peru. So from what I understand, like cultivating the medicine is kind of a long process. I think for a while it wasn't allowed in the US. So I think typically people had to travel overseas. Yeah. So, and that honestly, that was one of the requirements that I had to the universe, is that I wanted it to be, a comfortable experience, because, right, if you're going to be bringing up and healing all this old trauma and puking into a bucket, it's like, I wanted to be comfortable. I didn't want to be out in Peru with like mosquitoes on my ass. And, so that was like one of my main requirements. Like I need to be comfortable while I'm.
So this medication makes you puke?
It can make you throw up. So your body releases stuck energy in a variety of ways, but the main one can typically be throwing up, going to the bathroom, crying, laughing. What else? Like noises. But typically people do vomit.
And some of the time it can be an extended period of time. It can be 3, 4, 5, or a longer period of time. Is that right? That's what I've heard anyway.
So the ceremony is and this is the shamana that I love her so much. The shamana that I did the ceremony with, she's very much in the flow, and like she doesn't cut off the ceremony after a certain number of hours. Like she allows you to kind of have that process and to follow the energy. So you would start at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and then you would go as long as the medicine was doing its thing, but only a part of that are you actually vomiting. And there were some points where I didn't vomit and I needed to, like I could feel my body wanting to release it. So she actually vomited on my behalf, which is an interesting, like, energetic thing.
Well, that would start me right.
I'd follow her right away.
There'd be no holding back then. That's just automatic. But so
Yeah.
what is entailed in the ceremony that goes with all of this? Obviously, it's not about vomiting. It's about this cleansing. So how what is a typical ceremony look like, if you can describe it?
Yeah, so with her, she does a lot of prep work, which again, I'm very thankful, because I think typically what can happen is like people can have these experiences where they go in and get this very deep healing, but they're either not ready for it, because it makes you look at your crap, right? It makes you look at like these patterns that you've had and these energies that you've had. So she does a lot of prep work where you get your mind, your body, and your spirit kind of lined up so you're ready for the ceremony. So it includes a special diet where you kind of cut back on, alcohol and sex. And, it's like a tapered thing that she goes through. She also has you do like energy practices to get prepared for it. And then when you actually get to the ceremony, you have intentions of things that you want to work on. So, right, everything's kind of connected. So it's like, even if you go in wanting to work on one thing, you're still going to end up getting other things because we're multifaceted beings. It's not like you can just say, oh, I only want to work on this one thing. Actually, some of the things that came up for me were quite interesting and quite profound. So I had like gifts that awakened during ceremony. I had a lot of like healing from my childhood, just things that I had already worked on and processed, but it was almost like that last kind of layer that needed to come up. So I felt a lot of things. The shamana that I work with, she almost calls it's like like the medicine is a machete. I can't say that word right now.
Machete.
What's that? Thank you. Machete that comes in and just kind of clears, where you don't have to really look at the stuff anymore. It's almost like you've gotten to a point where you can just release it. Like all these things you've kind of been holding on to and that have kind of kept you stuck. It creates a lot of clarity. It creates a lot of understanding about situations. We were talking about having that hindsight. So like maybe somebody from your past that you couldn't really forgive completely, or somebody that you've just had that really challenging relationship, or somebody in your life. The medicine can help you to kind of understand that.
A list is forming already.
Yeah.
But
because
it's interesting how you compared it. You compared it, and your shamana has compared it to a machete. And I'm getting for me, the visual is like a final rinse cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what's interesting is like, so somebody had told me this before I sat with ayahuasca, and I didn't really understand it, but I heard that like it takes years for you to integrate your ayahuasca experience. I was like, really? It kind of made sense, but it didn't make sense. But I see that now. Like the first ceremony I did was 2 years ago, and I'm really starting to like integrate some of the really deep things that I healed, because it can also heal past life dynamics that we bring into this current life. Because there's things that I've struggled with, like, and I'm usually very open, so I can share this. Like, I've never been, in this lifetime, I've never been sexually abused, but I had a lot of wounding that you would think that I had been sexually abused. Like I was very afraid of men for a long time, like even being in their physical presence, like I would kind of tense up and like go on guard. And for me, it was a lot of past life energy that I had to sit with it and just kind of feel it and ask the universe, like, hey, I want to move past this. Like, how do I do that? So it's amazing and it's profound. And I would say, like, if it calls to you and you really feel that connection with your heart, because she definitely calls to you. When she calls, it's not something that you can really ignore. At least for me, it wasn't. Because again, it's that resonance. Like, all right, here's our soul. It wants to be happier, healthier, more free. Here's this beautiful plant medicine that we've been provided. Like, let me utilize that.
And this particular thing is
with that and sharing.
Yes. This particular thing is not for the faint of heart, because if you put it on a list, all right, you're going to change your diet, there's going to be no alcohol and no sex, and you're going to throw up for 12 hours. That would eliminate quite a number of people, I would think.
Check that list.
Yeah.
You really have to be in a position where this is something that calls to you, really.
Yeah. But you would be surprised. I mean, I sat with, and I think the way that she does it is very different than some other facilities. And then also, like, I had experiences with other plant medicine. And I think sometimes people want that quick fix and they think, oh, I'm going to purge and like my whole life is going to be different. It's like, you still have to make those changes in your life moving forward. Like, that's part of that integration process. It's like, I can have all the understanding in the world of my crap, but if I'm not actually going to change it moving forward, then, you know, what good did that do me? So, yeah. But I still think you get some benefit from it, you know, maybe just not the full.
Rochelle, there's another t-shirt.
Okay.
I'm beginning to understand my crap.
We should put that on the back. We should put that on the back of it. Or like vice versa on the front, because the last one that for everybody listening, I need you to agree with this because you said that
You're triggering the crap out of me.
you're triggering the crap out of me, and then I'm starting to understand my crap. That's why you're triggering me. Okay, that's good.
That's pretty profound right there. Congratulations, Robin. You're going to be a multi-millionaire now.
Thank you. It's funny because I've had a list on my phone of t-shirts that I've wanted to create. And actually, oddly enough, another one that I have is centered around poop. So it's funny that I come back to that.
You're going to laugh. We just picked up a game. We have game nights with friends of ours, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'll get to the name of it. But it's about poop, and it's about matching the shapes and stuff of poop to different kinds of animals that produce it. And it's an adult game. It's not like a kid's, you know, it's not the who pooped kids reading, you know, kids book. It's for adults to have a, you know, party night so we can compare poop.
I went to the doctor one time on an unrelated thing, and we ended up talking about poop, and because there's a particular doctor that specializes in poop, and they said, well, how many different types of poop are there? And he said, oh, these people get really into it. They understand all kinds of different poops and shapes and colors and smells and
man. You know, there was a friend of mine who worked. He was and Kyle, if you're out there, he worked as the environmental specialist for the Patuxent River Naval Air Station. And so he took care of all the environmental issues on the base, and that included, you know, wildlife preservation and all that stuff. And he had this collection, you know, just boxes and boxes and boxes of this collection of animal scat. Collected from around the world. I mean, he would trade poop with people around the world. They would ship, you know, here's an Australian marmot, you know, pellet, and all of this. And I was like, that is the crappiest hobby I've ever heard of. But
I love it. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, drum roll, please. But you know, it's interesting. Whatever.
You can do anything with anything, and that proves that.
Yes, absolutely.
Talking about poop.
You never know what kind of crap people are going to collect. But no, you know, it's funny how poop comes up in conversations. Everybody who has children, their conversations devolve into the kinds of poop their children produce. Even when they're talking to other adults who may or may not have children, they start talking about the color, the smell, the quantity of their infant's poop.
I don't know if my son would appreciate this, but you know, so what? When he was still in diapers, and I was taking him to the bathroom because he was now, you know, like 2, and I don't know if you haven't had children, a 2-year-old is capable of producing a volume that most people would be proud of. And so anyway, it fell out of his diaper. And so I tried to pick it up to put it in the toilet, and then I started throwing up right after that. And my wife came running in, and my son is sitting on the edge of the tub going, "Daddy spilled." So I've never been able to deal with other people. I have trouble with dealing with. Well, I've never dealt well with other people's poop. So we'll say that. But
Yeah, like
Well,
let's
now
give
you
a
want
shout
a
out to all
doctor,
the
Kevin.
yeah. Let's give a shout out to the nurses and the
I
EMTs
know
and all the
Kenny.
people who
Mhm.
deal with poop
Oh,
because
yeah,
there's no way I could do that.
exactly. You know,
My
Anything
Thank you.
internal.
my
so
my,
this
my
is true evidence that you never know where a conversation on Positive Talk Radio is going to take you.
Yeah, I have to share this with you real quick because this is my brother fell off a roof, and so his heels were broken and his back was in trouble and all that kind of stuff. So he had to lay down on the bed. He quit eating because he didn't want to have to. He couldn't get up to walk to the bathroom, and he didn't want to have one of those bedpans. So he decided to quit eating. Well, the nurse came into him one day and said, "You have got to go." And he said, "Yeah, but I don't want to go." And she said, "Well, we've got two choices. You can go by yourself." And he said, "What's the second choice?" She held up a spoon.
Oh,
It would be the spoon method, where if you don't want to go, we're going to dig it out of you. It's like he started eating again, and that was the end of that. But it's amazing. I'm sorry. I digress. That was a silly story. But Robin, if you want somebody, if somebody wants to work with you, if they're listening to this show anywhere in the world, because you work with people all over the world, if they want to work with you, how do they get a hold of you? Other than going to shedsomelightonit.net.
That's probably the easiest way. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Some of those I'm on there as spiritual CFO because we gotta mix up the creativity. But usually you can just go to my website and there's a form on there where you can submit to send me an email. That's probably the one that I'm most likely to check. Sometimes I go off the rails on social media and I'm like, I need a break from all of that. So if you're in
spiritual
Florida,
CFO, you said spiritual
yes.
CFO. So now I know
Yeah.
normally that's Chief Financial Officer. Do you have a different acronym for what CFO stands for?
No, so I actually in my coaching, I also do business coaching or financial coaching with
Got
people,
it.
kind of combining both sides because I do have that finance background. So I love having the physical, practical side while also combining it with the spiritual. Like, what are your money blockages? What are the things that are holding you back? So
Cool.
It really just is like I get a variety of people that I work with. Really, it's which actually it's funny because we were chatting about that earlier with like the pressure that we can put on ourselves. I put such pressure on myself, like, I have to niche down and I have to figure out like what I'm supposed to help people with. And I'm like, well, I have all of these gifts. Why would I not just utilize all of the gifts that I have? So, and right, it keeps things interesting. So
I get
really
that
do
all the
just,
time too, Robin.
yeah.
People tell me I need to niche you down, but I'm not going to because I enjoy having people like you and so many different types of wonderful people that are doing wonderful work. We need to take our last real quick break, and it's just 30 seconds, and then we'll be right back. And Robin, we're going to ask you to give our audience some real sound advice for how they can follow their heart and to move forward when we come back.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Years old, and I've never sent a text message and had that response ever, not once in my life. So John, you've been quiet. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask Robin?
I don't think I've been all that quiet, actually. Robin, I will say, if you do have some brief points of advice for how people can center themselves or find their way out from the crap that life deals them, what things might you quickly, I mean, without knowing a particular situation, what kinds of things could you quickly give them in a 2-minute answer?
Yeah. So the thing that's coming up is something that I think when I was in life coaching school, one of my fellow students shared this, and it was something that I used a lot and I can still use. So it's kind of a take 3, take 5, whatever you want to call it. So it's just a habit that you can build. We were talking about earlier with like building that peace and cultivating that calmer nervous system. So literally before you start your car, before you get up from the toilet, because we're on the bathroom rant, before you call somebody, right? Like just pausing for a moment and just putting your hand on your heart and maybe taking 3 deep breaths. It's just building that habit of like, okay, I'm here in this present moment. Everything's fine. I'm safe. I think we take for granted, again, like those small habits that we're consistent with, just how much that can change our lives. It definitely helped me a lot because I was always a person that was like, oh my God, I was such a nut job. I was like just rushing to like everything in my life. Like, oh my God. Yeah.
Rushing from thing to thing. Yes.
Yeah. And my nervous system was just, from childhood and like from just years of doing that, like I needed to really learn to calm down and to take those moments of peace. So yeah, just that take 3, take 5, whatever you want to call it. And I really do a lot of like putting my hand on my heart. Even when people like talk to me now, I really do try to just come from that. I'm not perfect, right? I still have my moments where I'm in some kind of mood, but the more that you can do that, you get used to it and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah.
That really is cool. That's really good. Rochelle, are you going to use some of those things?
Yeah, I love how I do that a lot too, Robin, where it's just I love how you said that we take for granted those little moments, because when we're grounded with ourselves and we remind ourselves what we have in that moment, it humbles you every day throughout the day. And when that starts to add up, you start seeing things differently and having a different perspective. You communicate differently with people. Like when somebody used to be mean to me, I just wanted to lash out on them. I was like, oh, you think you could be mean? I'm meaner. I'm way meaner than you.
Yeah.
And now it's like they're mean because they're hurting right now and they don't understand what they have that's being taken for granted because of an emotion. And so I love how you said that, to ground yourself, because our emotions are distracting and it's so easy to just, like I have the brain like you, Robin. I get it. It's like I need to be doing something. And once I learned to step back, I'm like, wow, like everything is so still right now. And it just it does get comfortable. It's just weird to explain. But thank you so much for that. I'm going to start focusing on little things I do. Like before I make a phone call, I think I could definitely use that skill, because sometimes I have to call places I'm like, I do not want to be doing this. So thank you for that tip.
Deep breaths.
Yeah.
John?
I was just saying the deep breaths, that moment of pause can make all the difference in the world. And thank you, Robin, for that suggestion, for that advice, and for being here with us on Positive Talk Radio.
Yeah.
I know there's people out there who are going to benefit from today's from today's conversation.
For sure.
I hope so. Yeah, I love chatting about this stuff.
Go to shedsomelightonit.net. And I want to thank, this has been a good show. Outside the poop stuff, but you guys have been amazing. Rochelle, you've asked some really good questions. I'm really proud of you. And John, you're better than me. And Robin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
With that, everybody have a great day, everybody, and take a deep breath and let it be. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because